Both trading partners benefit when each partner specializes in producing the good where it has a comparative advantage, and the price of trade is between the two opportunity costs. By engaging in such trade, the consumption possibilities of both partners exceed their individual production possibilities. How can Edward and Lisa both gain from trade? Since the opportunity cost of having Edward grow another banana is 2 apples, and the opportunity cost of having Lisa grow another banana is only 0.6 apples, both Edward and Lisa benefit if Edward specializes in growing apples. Lisa specializes in growing bananas. Edward trades apples to Lisa for bananas, and the price of trade is between 2 apples for a banana and 0.6 apples for a banana. To illustrate this, let's compare what Edward and Lisa can consume when they do not trade with what they consume when they specialize in trade. What would happen if Edward uses 1 of his 5 acres to grow apples and the other 4 acres to grow bananas, and Lisa uses 2 of her 5 acres to grow apples and the other 3 acres to grow bananas? So, Edward uses 1 acre to grow apples. Each acre makes 2 apples, so Edward would produce 2 apples. Since trade does not occur, Edward would consume 2 apples. Each acre of Edward's land produces 1 banana. If he uses 4 acres to grow bananas, he will produce 4 bananas. Since trade does not occur, Edward would consume 4 bananas. Lisa is using 3 acres to grow bananas. Each of her acres grows 5 bananas, so she'll produce 15 bananas. Since no trade occurs, she would consume 15 bananas. Lisa's got 2 acres growing apples. Each acre grows 3 apples. She'll produce a total of 6 apples. Since no trade occurs, she would consume 6 apples. Now what happens when Edward specializes in apples, Lisa specializes in bananas, they trade 7 apples, and the price of trade is 1 banana per apple. Now, when Edward uses all his acres to make apples, he'll grow 10 apples. He'll trade 7 of these apples to Lisa. Since the price of trade is 1 apple per banana, he'll receive 7 bananas in exchange. He'll consume the 10 apples he produces, less the 7 that he trades, for a total of 3 apples. He won't produce any bananas, but he will consume the 7 bananas he receives in trade from Lisa. Lisa is using all of her acres to make bananas. Each acre makes 5 bananas. She'll produce a total of 25 bananas. She trades 7 of these to Edward in exchange for 7 apples, which means she'll consume the 25 she produces, less the 7 she gives away in trade, for a total of 18 bananas. Since she has no acres allocated to apples, she produces no apples, but she will consume the 7 apples she receives in trade from Edward. Notice, the total amount of apples and bananas produced increases when both Edward and Lisa specialize in the activity where they have the comparative advantage. This allows both Edward and Lisa to consume more apples and more bananas when they trade than when they do not. 3 apples is higher than 2 apples, 7 bananas is higher than 4 bananas, 18 apples is higher than 15 apples, that's actually bananas. 18 bananas is higher than 15 bananas, and 7 apples is higher than 6 bananas. You can get those numbers in the work we just did. Yay for trade! This table summarizes everything I just said. The first three columns show what happens when there is no trade. Columns 4 through 6 show what happens when there is trade. 1 through 3, Edward puts uses one acre for apples. Lisa uses 2 acres for apples. Edward produces 6. Edward produces 2. Lisa produces 6. They don't trade. So what Edward produces, Edward consumes. What Lisa produces, Lisa consumes. They make a grand total. They produce a grand total of 8 apples, and they consume a grand total of 8 apples. Edward's got 4 acres allocated to bananas. Lisa has 3, which means he produces and consumes 4 bananas. Lisa produces and consumes 15 bananas. They produce a total of 19 bananas and consume a total of 19 bananas. When they specialize in trade, Edward's going to make a grand total of 10 apples. He gives away 7 of those in trade, which means he winds up consuming 3 apples. He's got more apples after trade than he did on his own. Lisa produces no apples, but gets 7 in trade. She winds up with more apples after trade than she produced on her own. Lisa produces a grand total of 25 bananas. She produces 25 bananas. She loses 7 of those in trade, has 18 left. She consumes more bananas than she did without trade. Edward consumes the 7 bananas he received in trade, which is higher than the amount he produced and consumed on his own. When Lisa and Edward specialize, the number of apples produced goes from 8 up to 10, and the number of bananas produced goes from 19 up to 25. Since they produce more apples and more bananas, they can both obtain and consume more apples and more bananas. In our example, trade can be mutually beneficial whenever the price of trade is between 2 apples for a banana, which is the opportunity cost Edward pays to grow a banana, and 0.6 apples for a banana, the opportunity cost Lisa pays. When the price of trade is between 2 apples for a banana and 0.6 apples for a banana, the opportunity cost of obtaining one of the products through trade is less than the opportunity cost of growing it for both partners. When the price of trade is 1 apple per banana, Edward's opportunity cost of obtaining bananas in trade is below the cost he pays when he grows bananas. Lisa's opportunity cost of obtaining apples in trade is lower than the cost she pays when she grows apples. Both Edward and Lisa benefit from specialization in trade because the opportunity cost of obtaining one of the goods is lower with trade than without it.